Roger Kincaid and Rob Breckenridge.
Now, let me play this for you, because here's a conservative who's actually voicing this, and this was at a debate in the riding of Oakville. Terrence Young is a conservative MP representing the riding of Oakville, and I think like a lot of conservatives in Ontario, is in a tough battle. And so here's the case he made the other day as to why people should not vote for his Liberal opponent.
The second is, do you want communities in Oakville that are quiet and safe, where our largest investment, our homes, retain their value as they do now? Or communities where a federal Liberal government mandates legally protected brothels with madams and all that goes with that?
Order, please.
Because the Liberals have promised to legalize the selling of women in Canada. And mandates marijuana stores, like in Vancouver, where there are more illegal marijuana stores than Starbucks, and mandates drug injection sites with no local input from the neighbors. One day, most of us plan to sell our homes. What family would invest their life savings in a home near a marijuana store, a brothel, or a drug injection site? Our Prime Minister...
Order, please.
Our Prime Minister is not a back-slapping, baby-kissing kind of politician. He's a serious man in a serious job. He is a brilliant economist who got Canada through the worst recession since the dirty 30s in the best shape of any of the G7 nations, creating one...
Okay, so he goes off on a tangent there. But so there's the message that just imagine your home, imagine the neighborhood you live in. Now imagine waking up tomorrow and next door to you on the one side is a marijuana shop. Wow. Next door on the other side is a heroin injection site. And right across the street from you is a brothel.
Wow. You mean I can have all these things?
You could have it all. You could have it all under Justin Trudeau.
Well, it seems like a really strange argument to say that, listen, the reason why the Conservatives are trying to keep these businesses from springing up, why we are the ones who will not allow brothels, will not allow marijuana stores, will not allow safe ejection sites, is because you need to have your home's value protected. By the way, how's real estate in Vancouver doing? Where they have a legal safe injection site, where dispensaries are popping up all over the place, and where there are brothels advertising in the daily tabloid. They're just called massage parlors.
Right. They all exist. Now, I mean, most reasonable people might say, well, I don't know that I'd want to live right next door to one of those. You know, as much as I like having a beer store, Roger, within reasonable distance from me, I don't think I'd want to live next door to a beer store, a liquor store. For that matter, I don't think I'd want to live next to a shopping mall. I could come up with a long list of things I wouldn't want to live next door to. But that's why I live in a residential neighborhood that is zoned for residential stuff. Right?
Who owns that, by the way, the federal government or the municipal government?
I'm not sure. I'll have to look into that. The thing about safe injection sites especially, though, now, to me, if right now, would I want a safe injection site next door to me? No, I probably wouldn't. I'd concede that point. Now, when I walk out of my house, I don't worry about dirty needles on my sidewalk. I don't worry about having to step over passed-out heroin users. Now, if that were my reality, I probably wouldn't have much value in my home anyway. I wouldn't be thinking a lot about how, the resale value of my home, because I'd probably be in a pretty nasty part of town.
Like a single room occupancy kind of setting.
But that were my reality. If I were walking out of my home and there were used needles and people passed out and just an awful situation, I probably would want a safe injection site. I probably would want some way of getting that off of the street and into a safe facility. So I think if you're going to ask the question, you need to think about who you're asking and what it is they're dealing with, because they're not going to put a safe injection site in your neighborhood if there are not heroin users in your neighborhood. And if there are heroin users in your neighborhood, you might be interested in a safe injection site.
People disconnect from that point, Rob. And we haven't even touched, by the way, the fact that these aren't things that are mandated in the Liberal platform, that they will force safe injection sites and brothels and marijuana stores into people's neighborhoods. How would you do that, by the way? I mean, let me put it to you this way. Could they force any business into a neighborhood? Would they tell somebody, hey, listen, get in there and open up a kebab house? And like, well, hang on, everyone around here doesn't like kebabs. Doesn't matter. You got to do it.
Well, that's the thing. The other thing, look, here's the thing. I know that the Liberals want to legalize marijuana. That much I know. I doubt that they're going to embrace...
So do the NDP, by the way.
Well, no, I mean, they talk about decriminalization. I don't know if they want to legalize.
Tom was kind of He's pushing that point a bit.
All right, so the liberals say let's legalize. I suspect the liberal version of legalization is going to involve government stores, and it's not going to be private outlets. It's not going to be corner stores. So there's that. I know the liberals do support in principle the concept of harm reduction, safe injection sites. But I don't think they have a proposal for a certain number of them. I think they're going to be more open to maybe cities requesting them. But on the issue of prostitution, I got to say, I have no idea, not a clue what the liberal position is. The liberals have said they don't like the Conservatives' Bill C-36, but they haven't really explained why. They haven't really said what they would do. I mean, they're open about wanting to legalize marijuana. They seem against the idea of legalizing prostitution. So I don't know. I really, for the life of me, don't know what the liberal position on prostitution is. I have no idea if they support legal brothels or they'd continue the prohibitionist approach, just, slightly tweaked. I have no idea.
He did say, by the way, in that clip, and we got to go to a commercial break here before we get to Howie's phone call, but he did say that the selling of women, right? He phrased it that way. He didn't say women selling themselves, to use the same crass terminology. I think he said the selling of women. And one of the problems with prostitution in this country is that the selling of women occurs because there are so many barriers to having women do this themselves.
The point to me about all of this is this suggests that as much as the Conservatives have in the bank, they don't seem to have a lot in the tank, as it were, Roger.
Hey, I like it. It's a good T-shirt, yeah.
Someone texted us to say, why don't you guys move away from the nonsense? I know you're entertainers, but you do have a platform to make a difference. So I'm not sure what this caller is trying to get across, because this is what the Conservatives are talking about. I wish they'd be talking about other things. I'm surprised they're not talking about other things. I'm surprised that they don't have more of a plan formulated for this final week of the campaign. That if we go into this final week and it's a close election, or maybe we're a little bit behind, what are we going to do? What's the message in the final week? What's the point we want to drive home to voters before they go to the polls? How are we going to inspire people to get behind us? If your message is don't vote for the other guy because you're going to be living next door to a safe injection site and a brothel, that's pretty uninspiring to me. That seems pretty desperate to me. So are people suggesting we don't bring this up because they don't want to talk about it, or they don't want us to bring it up because maybe it doesn't reflect well on the party they're supporting? I mean, look, we have liquor stores that are next to 7-Elevens. We have liquor stores that are next to stores that kids go into. So I don't know. Look, if we're going to have marijuana stores, if those are going to exist at some point, I don't know why we would necessarily zone them any differently than we zone liquor stores.
Yeah, this is a silly. Well, I mean, are we even being silly by just talking about this? This texter who points out that we should be talking about not these shallow issues. The only reason we're talking about them is because a candidate brought it up on the hustings and it was defended by the party leader. The fact that the Liberals have not put out a platform that says, oh yeah, if you elect us, we're going to have brothels in absolutely every community. I keep thinking about East Hastings in this conversation because I lived in Vancouver where I saw my house double in value and we had all these horrible things. Here's what happened. I bought a condo, a 2-bedroom condo that you could barely fit a third pair of shoes into, for $170,000, and I sold it 4 years later for $390,000. Nice. Okay, so wow. that was my reality. Every single day I would come outside and the recycling bin was knocked over. Somebody took the bottles. I heard those shopping carts going up and down the street in the middle of the night, people bottle picking. The park right next door to my house, it didn't have needles in it, but it certainly had a lot of people smoking dope in there. The railway tracks beside my house did have needles on them. From time to time, we would just pick them up and throw them in the dumpster. Meanwhile, 10 minutes drive from my house, passing about 5 strip clubs and 4 known massage parlors that offered full services, I would get to East Hastings Street where there was a safe injection site called Insight and a whole bunch of drug-addicted prostitutes, some of whom were probably killed by Robert Pickton. And so if this conservative candidate were to say to me, we're trying to protect the value of your home, I would say, don't worry about the value of my home. It's doing just fine. Can we do something about the overdoses, the dead hookers, and all these other issues that can be cured through harm prevention?
We got a break here for the 10 o'clock news, so we'll have more time for your calls in our next hour. Got a few other issues to get to as well. Kincaid and Breckenridge on News Talk 770.